Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. Swirsky on the screen. He is the only commander you can use for the Tier 6 Polish destroyer, Błyskawica, or Błyskawica. Not quite sure how you pronounce it. There's the build, though. And here is my mod selection for the Błyskawica B. I realize I'm a little bit late in doing this video, but you can still get this ship today. Sunday, November 9th, 2020, last day it's on sale. We're going to be on Haven, capture the base mode for this Błyskawica game. And this is a pretty average game in this ship. I'm going to talk about the stats right off the bat, as I normally do in my first impressions review, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the ship, maybe call some of the shots in this battle as they happen. So, to begin with, the Błyskawica comes with 15,500 hit points, which I'm pretty sure puts it squarely in the middle of the pack as far as the hit points pools on Tier 6 destroyers go. It's got 7 guns, though, 120 millimeters in size, which I think is the same caliber as the British destroyers. And in fact, I think historically, the Błyskawica was designed by the British for the Polish Navy. But it does have 7 of the guns, so that gives it more guns than I think any other destroyer at this tier. Of course, when you get into Tier 7, the Akizuki has 8 guns. Still, lots of guns on this broadside. They shoot out to 10.7 kilometers. They reload in 6.5 seconds. Nothing too impressive about that range, and the reload is pretty slow. 15.3 second turret traverse. Definitely not as cumbersome as the turret traverse on some other destroyers, think the French or the Russians, but also not very quick. HE Alpha Strike, 1700 max HE damage per shell. Rather low, but the volume of fire with 7 guns is pretty high, so that does make up for it. 8% fire chance, nothing to write home about, but it's fine. 2200 max AP shell damage, again nothing to write home about, and it seems to me that the AP on this destroyer is not super effective. I don't think I've scored too many citadels on broadside cruisers with it, let's just say that. Certainly nothing like what you could get with the French or Russian destroyers, both of which have pretty good armor piercing. Torpedoes, we're launching them there at that Gniza now, and we're going to miss, of course. It's got 6 533mm torpedoes. 6 is not a very big number, so you can't rely on torpedo volume very much per se, but they do have a 70-second reload, which is fairly quick. The Alpha Strike on them, not terribly impressive, 14,400. Actually, I think that's on the little bit on the low side. But their detectability at 1.2 kilometers, pretty stealthy torps. 8 kilometer range on these things, 61 knot speed. So, range pretty average, speed actually rather low. As far as the ship itself, maneuverability characteristics, we've got a 40.3 knot top speed with my build. I do have Blue Furiora as one of the inspirations on Swirsky. She increases the speed of the destroyer. It's an inspiration I'm playing around with. I might end up switching it as time goes on. My builds are always often. They're a work in progress, alright? 610 meter turning circle, pretty wide. And then 5.8 second rudder shift time, pretty slow. Detectability by sea, 5.4 kilometers. 4.5 would be like some god tier concealment. It doesn't have that, but 5.4 kilometers is pretty good. So, what is this destroyer? Is it a torpedo boat, a gunboat, a hybrid? Well, instead of talking about that right off the bat, let's talk about power creep. Because the Błyskawica here was, I think, one of the earliest premium destroyers in the game. It was available, I think, shortly after the launch of World of Warships Legends. So, theoretically, it's been around for a long time. This is the first time I've played it, of course, because I joined this game a couple of months after it went out of its open beta stage. So, this is the first time I've played it, but back when it was one of the first premium ships in the game, it would have been the fastest destroyer in the game with the most guns. No longer. The Minsk, by far, is faster than the Błyskawica, and I also think the Tier 6 French destroyer, as I call it, the Vacuum, is faster if it's got the engine boost going. So it's been power crept in terms of speed. It still, though, does have one of the heavier broadsides in terms of actual guns at the tier. So it's got that going for it, and despite the rather long reload, the guns do hit pretty hard versus enemy destroyers, as you saw there with that enemy Akatsuki that we killed. The torpedoes, there we hit five of them against that enemy battleship. We go up from 10,000 damage to 52,000 damage, and you can see with those 5 torpedo hits, that wasn't even quite enough to take down that battleship. It's because the alpha strike on these torpedoes is not terribly impressive. You can hit 5 of them against an enemy battleship, as you saw there, and not take it down. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. That is made up for by that 70-second reload time. You can see now the torpedoes are available for our use again. So, even if you hit 5 of them on an enemy battleship and you do not kill it, then you won't have to wait too long to launch torpedoes again. Smoking up here, too. The smoke screen, not a terribly impressive smoke screen, nothing super long duration like the American smoke screens, and nothing super short duration like the British smoke screens. Just kind of your run-of-the-mill smoke screen, kind of like the Japanese or Germans. It gets the job done. Launching torpedoes into the enemy smoke screen after they have launched torpedoes into ours. I don't think we're actually going to connect with that particular enemy destroyer who has seemed to move around that island. Anyway, getting ahead of myself here, I think. Basically, the Błyskawica, at least in my opinion, played a few games in it. This is just, one of the first impression type reviews. It's kind of like a hybrid destroyer that can do well with a combination of its 7 guns and its 6 torpedoes. You do need to make use of both. And with the 8-kilometer torpedo firing range and the 5.4 kilometer detectability, you can quite easily fire these from stealth, and you can fire them pretty rapidly. They are stealthy, but they are rather slow. So you're probably not going to hit every single one that you fire unless your target is completely oblivious. Or if you're firing them at the bow of a Fuso, obviously not the ideal launch angle for torpedoes. But we have noticed an opening here that is hopefully going to allow us to get into the enemy base, which is what we need to do given the point situation and the ship count here. We are outnumbered and the enemy team does have us on points. So we need to do what we can to turn the tide of this battle. Anyway, the speed of the Błyskawica still impressive, even if it's not the fastest destroyer in the game anymore. It does allow you to get into positions a little bit more quickly, and you are probably faster than quite a few destroyers at this tier. We've been spotted by this Fuso, who I think is actually AFK, so it turns out we don't really need to worry about him. We have caused a flood with one of our torpedoes, and that is going to be fine. That salvo on the Mayhan out there nearly kills him. We miss with the follow-up, but that's okay. We're going to hit him with this one, and he should easily go down. So, as you can see, fairly competitive gunboat, especially if the enemy destroyers are on lower health, you can finish them off in the span of a couple of salvos with all of the shells you are throwing their way. And just like that, we have gained a points lead on the enemy, which we should be able to continue to build on so long as no other blue ships are sunk, given that we are on the enemy base and we are stemming the flow of their passive accrual of points. And there goes another enemy ship, so things are looking up for us. We should be able to easily win this game now, barring catastrophic failure on my part, which I don't think is going to happen, hopefully not. Anyway, what do I think of the Błyskawica in terms of all the other Black Friday ships? Well, like I said, I know I'm late to taking a look at this ship, and the sale actually ends today. So if you haven't bought this ship yet, this is your last chance to do it. And why might you want to buy this ship? Well, out of the 3 Black Friday ships for this year of 2020 that are available for purchase, I think the Błyskawica is arguably the strongest and the best one. I think it is better than both the Mutsu and the Indianapolis. So if you are looking to buy a premium Black Friday ship, I think this one is your best bet. And even if you don't think it's a terribly impressive destroyer, you might want to buy it just because you also get Swirsky as a commander, and his base trait reduces the detectability of any ship by a certain percentage. So you can apply him to your cruiser builds, your destroyer builds. If you wanted to, you could even apply him to your battleship builds for an increase in stealth. And on destroyers, if you want to stack him as an inspiration with Eric Bay from the German line of commanders, then you can get a double concealment build in inspirations for your destroyers. So there are a lot of good reasons to buy the Błyskawica. It is a very effective destroyer, I think. Maybe not the strongest destroyer at Tier 6, but honestly pretty great, and I would recommend this one over both the Mutsu and the Indianapolis. So if you do want to buy it, you still have a chance before this day is over. And right now, this game is over. We have won, and we are going to make some pretty decent money off of this, despite the rather average sort of damage total. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already done that. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.